And there's a 3-step formula that is proven to persuade. You got to persuade if you're going to be profitable, not manipulate, but persuade. And if you want to get prospects faster, here's a 3-step formula I'm going to share with you. And I don't need to go through it slowly. It's very simple. The first is relevancy. Now, you don't want to think about what you have to offer. It's not what you're selling that's important. It's what they want to buy that's important. They hate to be sold. They love to buy. My friend Jeffrey Gitomer says that. And when a prospect is looking at your product or service, they're asking, okay, why am I going to buy this? So that's why my index card, if you're watching and if you're listening or reading, I have an index card up on a video. I'm actually radically repurposing this video masterclass into audio and written words. So if you're reading and listening, you've been repurposed. Now, relevancy means, why is this relevant to me? Why this? That's what they're asking. You don't even have to guess. They're just asking, why am I going to buy this? Why this? Okay, so remember that. If you can't answer that question up front, then they're going to ask it, and it'd be a waste of your breath and time and theirs as well, not to mention money. The second is about credibility. The second question, why this, if it's relevant to them, then the second thing they're going to ask themselves, right, is why am I going to buy it from you? In other words, what's my alternative? Where else can I buy it? So if you answered why this, why you have about 50% of the equation. Now, if you ask yourself, well, Alex, and whether or not we know each other, doesn't matter. You can call me Alex, not Alec, not Alexander, just Alex. Alex, why is it 50% if there's a 3-step formula? Isn't that 33 and a third percent, 33 and a third percent, 33 and a third? No. I'm glad you noticed. And if you didn't notice, I just made you notice. It's 50% to have why this and why you answered, because the other 50%, probably more, is the 50% where most people, new or old, veterans or beginners, they fail, especially speakers and authors. How do I know? Because I make a lot of money coaching them on the third part of the formula, which is urgency. Urgency. Now, urgency is answering the question, why now? That's 50% of it. So don't think that the 3-part formula has equal weight. The first two, why this and why you, that's what they're thinking. Get in your prospect's mind. Turn their questions into objections. That's what they are, right? And start thinking how to utilize some prospecting judo and get them to the mat. Not so they tap out, so that you got them pinned, because there's no way out, right? And the way to do that is to understand if they have a good answer to why this is relevant to them, why you are credible, then why now is going to be the toughest thing. And that's why radical repurposing, which is the topic of this profitable prospecting theme, is you don't have to artificially make it urgent. If your stuff is out there, exposed, visible, it's getting reach, they will buy when they're ready, because within a year, radical means 12 months, right? Week after week, 52 weeks. If you're out there, they're going to say yes. And the best marketers do this. And this is zero advertising cost, so the profits are the highest. I like to start with zero advertising cost, because this is only going to support any paid advertising you have, because you're there in the backdrop. If you don't have any exposure, reach, or visibility, your advertising won't be as effective, right? If Warren Buffett said, I know you don't have $1 million, but I got the best investment, go find the $1 million, you will find $1 million within a month. Guaranteed. Why? Because Warren Buffett said it. He has relevance. You want to make money. He has credibility. He's the best investor in history. He's a billionaire. Why now? Because he's telling you got 1 month. Would you do it? Of course you would. High credibility, high relevance, high urgency, and you have a persuaded prospect becoming a customer. The formula, if written, is P, that's persuasion, persuading a prospect, P equals, and then in brackets, R plus C. R is relevancy, C is credibility, and that those brackets, R plus C, is times U, which is urgency. That's how powerful U is. You are powerful. R plus C times U. That's what persuasion is. Now, this is a formula I made up. I can't prove it, but I can support it as I'm doing right now. If I have high relevance to you and this is important to you, which prospecting must be, if you want to eat and feed your kids, if you have any, if you have high credibility and it doesn't take a lot to persuade someone that you're the right person for them to buy from, and if you have the way to genuinely and authentically create urgency so they say yes. And there are many different strategies which I'll share with you, but you want to think of them in advance. You don't want to be ill-prepared and unintentional, because it's easy to plan for it if you know that those are the three things you have to work on. Are there more? Yeah, but that's about 80% of persuasion and winning the heart of a prospect and turning them into a customer. So here's a key point. If relevancy, if R is high, but C is low, that's credibility, then there's no urgency. There's no urgency. It's urgency is irrelevant if your credibility is low, because they need to make sure your credibility is high. Now, if R is low, if relevancy is low, like, hey, this is thing's not for me, but C is high, there's high credibility, right? Then there's still no urgency. They're not going to buy from you because relevance is low. It's a waste of their money. You could be highly credible, but if you're a highly credible gourmet steak butcher and you have the most amazing Kobe steak on earth, right? But it's not relevant to the vegetarian who you're attempting to sell, your credibility still can be high, but the relevance is low. There's no urgency. They're not going to buy. Now, they may refer, but they won't buy. But if the R is high, relevance, and C is high, then urgency is possible. So you've done 50% of the journey, and the next is all about urgency and doing it authentically and genuinely. Now, I hope you go back and reread, re-listen, and rewatch what I've taught you so far, because you don't have to go to a 3-day intensive training or a 1-day sales workshop. I have never been taught sales in my life, ever. I've never been taught neuro-linguistic programming. I've never been taught the Sandler method, although I have friends in those areas. I've never been formally taught that, and I haven't avoided it. My teacher was my mother, Carol Mondosian, and she was the best sales trainer. In attempting to persuade that woman for me to eat ice cream before dinner took a lot of skill and a lot of rejection, but I got good at it. So this is where my skill comes from, and I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I may have lost some credibility saying that, but it's the truth. Now, the principle of urgency is you must deliver a believable reason why it's urgent. Now, you're wanting to know how to profitably prospect, and this is in all of your materials. So with repurposing, it's your content, video, audio, written. This applies everywhere, and it's never talked about. People look at persuasion as a face-to-face thing or a phone thing or a Zoom thing or a Facebook Live thing. It's an everyday thing in every single communication or message that you have. It needs to be there. Otherwise, you lose your pulling power. You're pulling people into you. You're not pushing them away. You're putting them in a position to buy. You're not selling them. Now, you probably don't like to get sold, right? But you love to buy if it's relevant from a credible source and you believe it's urgent, like you got to get it now.